Hello everyone, welcome back to Luis Discusses Everything. And in today's video, we're going to discuss how Kamala Harris is overperforming against President Trump. As you all know, in the recent slate of news, Kamala Harris became the new presumptive, in this case, the nominee or the presumptive Democratic nominee to go up against Donald Trump on the Republican side. This happened after President Biden dropped out of the race. In recent days, we've seen the announcement of the new running mate in the case of J.D. Vance with Donald Trump. And in the case of the Democrats, it's been Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, which was a progressive darling in that sense. But I want to focus this video on showing you what's going on in the race so far. So Kamala Harris is overperforming when compared to Biden, not only before his debate against Donald Trump, but also it's inching closer to Biden's numbers during the 2020 election. And you see even on the favorability ratings as of August 10th, Kamala Harris is only 5% unfavorable, and that's a huge difference compared to in the case of how it was before she got into the race. In the case of when Biden was in the race, he was much more. It was much bigger unfavorability, as high as 17%. Now it's just 5%, and that's even better than where Trump is at 8%. We know favorability as well as their opinion on the economy, two factors that voters take most into consideration when it comes down to voting for a particular candidate. So let's look at individual polls in the presidential election so we can look at the aggregate. We're just going to focus on the swing states. So let's look at, we'll start with Arizona. So Arizona on the aggregate, and this is the combination of polls per 538. That's what I'm using. Harris is up 0.4%. Let's look at a different swing state. Let's look at the state of Georgia. Georgia is even between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Let's look at a different state, another swing state. Let's look at another swing state here, Nevada. Look at the state of Nevada. Here is a bit more competitive. You see Trump up by 3. We don't have yet an average, but it's getting much closer than it was under versus Biden. Let's look at the state of Pennsylvania, the all-important state of Pennsylvania. Harris is up by 1.6%, still in the margin of error. Let's keep looking at the state of Wisconsin. Harris is up by 3.2%. And let's look at the state of Michigan. Harris is up by 3.3%. Just those 3 states gives her the presidency, but the fact that she's either tied or up in all of the swing states is remarkable for how things were, especially versus Biden. Let's look at the national polls. Harris is up by 2.7%. Let's look at the generic ballot, where Democrats are up by just shy of 1%. And that's among likely voters, right? So all of this to say is that the race has dramatically changed in favor of Vice President Harris, and it has made this election into a much more competitive election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now that the current incumbent president dropped out of the race. Now let's put that into perspective, shall we? So I'm going to go to 270 to win. And I'm going to go ahead and start a new electoral college map. And in this electoral college map, I'm going to give you kind of like my indication, not my prediction, that will be on a separate video, but I'm going to give you my indication as to what I think is going to happen, of how this electoral map looks like now that we see those polls. So right now, Georgia's a toss-up, so we'll leave it as it is. Arizona is a slight tilt in favor of the Democratic Party. Nevada is a slight tilt in favor of Trump. Pennsylvania is a slight tilt in favor of Harris. Michigan would be a slight tilt in favor of Harris, as well as Wisconsin. As you can see, that gives Democrats 281 electoral votes to 241 electoral votes on the Republican side. So if polls remain as they are, the victory would go to the Democratic Party. So just leave me your comments below if you agree or disagree with this assessment of the polls. There's definitely a surge going on for the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris. Now, I want to know your opinion as to whether or not this is a slight poll bump or a honeymoon, as some pundits in the media like to say, or is this more of a trend that is itching closer and closer to being permanent? So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.